Hello my friends, and welcome back to Tales from the Road. Today, I'm back in New Mexico and headed out to San Ildefonso Pueblo, located just an hour and a half from New Mexico's largest city, Albuquerque. I partnered with Visit Albuquerque on this video to explore and learn more about the Pueblo communities in and around Albuquerque. I spent my formative years growing up here in New Mexico, but really, I'm exploring much of the state for the first time. Today, I've been invited to San Ildefonso Pueblo, where I'll meet my host Elmer, a local, trusted tribal elder, and more importantly, a man who's working hard to preserve the traditions of his land and his people. Join me as he takes me through an ancient Pueblo site, hosts me for a home-cooked meal, and we learn a little bit about the pottery that is so famous in this place. If that sounds good, let's do it.
So good morning there. My name is Elmer Torres. That's my English name. I'm from the Pueblo of San Ildefonso Pueblo. I'm a tribal member. And my traditional Indian name is Oquintza, which translates in Tewa to White Misty Lake. That's the name I go by at the Pueblos when we have traditional things going on. But today we are here at Tsankawi. That's a traditional name as well, Tewa name. Tsankawi translate sharp cactus gap. This is our ancestral homelands, and just right adjacent to my left side over here and not more than 200 yards is actually our tribal reservation. So they lived here. Like I said, they call this place Tsankawi. Tewa is the language.
Tewa is the language
that we speak. So not just us, but we have 5 other sister pueblos in the surrounding area. We speak the same language.
And how many speakers do you think there are?
There's quite a few now. I would say maybe it's going back up. A lot of communities are making that a priority. We can preserve that culture. That's one of the important things that they always teach us as we're growing up, is to protect that and preserve that and teach it to the other ones coming behind us. So the important thing, because once you have that, you maintain your culture, your identity, your songs, your traditions, everything that goes with it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We're okay.
Yeah. This is just the first of 3 ladders altogether that we'll be climbing today.
Okay.
How this whole area started years ago. So everything you see here, the formation, the rocks, the geology itself, was created by the volcanic eruption,
okay,
which was 1.5 million years ago, which is today it's now called the Valles Caldera, which is just to the west of here. So our people came in this region, this area, somewhere around the 900s, and the story goes all the way back, oral history, that we migrated from the north coming from all the way from what is now considered Alaska through there, and they say we crossed the Bering Strait and everything. However, they came down, and there's different stories that they say. One is that because of the ice age that came in, they crossed over the snow. Some say they followed the coastline all the way through where the ocean is, and just followed that and went around it, and then ended up here in the southern part.
Now, for many New Mexicans just like me, this area, very close to Bandelier National Monument, would just be a good place to go hiking, a place to enjoy a day outside and enjoy some sun. But for Elmer, this is a place where his people created their narrative. Preserved in rock caves, in petroglyphs, and ancient kiva sites, the Tsankawi ruins represent the beginnings of oral traditions, the foundation of ancient stories, and importantly, a place to engage with their ancestors. We can learn a lot from this mesa, and Elmer recognizes the importance of walking the same earth as his forefathers, just as they did before him.
This individual, and it's got some feathers up on top, and here you can see the hands. And if you look at the hands, a lot of the people say they look like aliens, because they all have 4 fingers. To my knowledge, as just individuals that live in this area that had the wisdom, the knowledge, that had those supernatural powers that they can predict things, what's going to happen in the next few days, in the next month, in the next year, whatever, or what they saw things at night, or what came to the images that they believed that was around this area. Things that they saw that what they thought were their protectors of their people, and they left it on the images of the wall and saying, okay, this is what we saw, this is how they were standing out there, and that meant that they were protecting our people.
So you would say these are religious in nature?
Yes, spiritual as well, ceremonial as well. So a lot of these figurines, if you were to go up to Base Verde you'll see a lot of the same things all over. Same thing at Chaco Canyon, other sites as well too. And as far as going all the way to Chinle, Arizona, if you look at the cliff walls and the way the structures that were made, they also have the same type of walls and everything that you would have seen throughout this whole southwest area. So here in New Mexico now has 23 tribes. We actually have, like I said, 19 of them are considered what we say now as pueblos. Then we have now 3 Apache tribes. Used to be only 2.
Okay.
Then we have the Navajo Nation here in New Mexico. So you can see that if you look at the map of New Mexico, there was just the whole map was actually covered with tribal land. I've actually talked to some folks that actually came from, there was a Mayan in this area, and we were talking about the water serpent, and I asked him, well, what does that mean to you? And they said, well, we do have that same symbol, and they have the same meaning behind it. So our people actually went as far as down south and integrated, or actually collaborated, I guess I would say,
Right.
with the Mayan. And a lot of that stuff
With the Mayans? Wow.
And
Really makes
Chaco
sense.
Canyon, a couple years ago, or it's been more than 2 years, they found chocolate in one of the pots that they found.
Okay.
And it was almost looked like a cup. And when they excavated at this one site, they found cocoa inside of it. And they said, what is it, dark colored stuff in there? And they tested it, and it was cocoa, or cacao, they call it.
Sure.
And they said, well, where did it come from? And they said, well, the only place they would have brought it from was South America, from the Mayan people coming up this way as a trade route. And they traded things of that nature. And that's how we acquired a lot of different feathers, like the parrot feathers we utilize for traditional dances, the shells, things of that nature. So they exchanged a lot of different things.
So there was a trade route from
It was
the
a
Mayan,
major trade route as well too.
Wow.
So Chaco Canyon was a major site that you'll see. But the more that a lot of the new technology that comes on, they're seeing that history is going further back. Because even at White Sands, a couple of years ago, they found some evidence that up in White Sands area, people that roamed through there was around 15,000 years ago. But when they found the footprints and everything, and the mammoth prints, it dated back all the way, took it back to 25,000 years ago that people were already roaming here in New Mexico.
Definitely.
And there's a reason why our people started going up higher, started building pueblo sites or villages because of the advantage that they have from this point. Look to the east, you can look to the north, you can look to the west, to the south. So all the mountains that you see to the different directions that we have here, our Pueblo people have a name for them. They're sacred mountains, we consider them. Yeah, our people already incorporated GPS, the whole thing. They're scientists, archaeologists, engineers, so things like that.
What would you say has been the biggest change in this area that you've seen since you've been living here? So these roads are just littered with pottery from the past.
You see a design on this one.
Interesting.
And there's a lot more right here. You can see this one.
Right.
After about a mile hike, we make it to the center of the ancient Pueblo site. Elmer shows me the ruins of ancient buildings and the site of their ancient kiva, the spiritual heart of every Pueblo. So I feel like this is as good a place as any to tell you the full story of this Pueblo, from ancient times to now. San Ildefonso Pueblo, located along the Rio Grande at the base of the Black Mesa, is one of the oldest continuously inhabited communities in North America, and is one of the 19 pueblos of New Mexico that flourished on the Pajarito Plateau for centuries before European contact. The Tewa people built terraced homes, cultivated the three sisters of corn, beans, and squash, and developed rich spiritual and artistic traditions tied to the land. In the late 1500s, Spanish conquistadors and their settlers arrived, bringing new crops, animals, and the mission system, which disrupted traditional life and imposed foreign religion and governance. A century later, in 1680, San Ildefonso played a pivotal role in the Pueblo Revolt, a coordinated uprising that successfully expelled the Spanish from New Mexico for over a decade, the only time indigenous people drove European colonizers out of a large region of North America. Following the Pueblo Revolt, Spain reasserted control, Mexico got its independence, and then New Mexico became part of the United States in 1848. Because of all these changes, the Pueblo always faced new pressures, including loss of land and assimilation policies by whoever was ruling over them. In the 1940s, another upheaval came with the Manhattan Project, when the US government seized lands around Los Alamos for atomic weapons development, displacing San Ildefonso families from traditional farming and sacred areas, as well as cutting them off from portions of their ancestral territory. Yet, through each area of disruption, the community was able to preserve its culture. That culture is exactly what I was going to visit as I followed Elmer back to San Ildefonso.
Spanish names were given to the pueblos name when they first, in the early 1500s, they visited. Each one didn't have a name, or they thought didn't have a name. We did have our own traditional village names, so each one was actually given a name after a saint from Spain, I guess, in that area. So, for instance, our pueblo was given San Ildefonso Pueblo, which is actually San Ildefonso, which was from Toledo, Spain. Every year on January 23rd is his anniversary date. He passed away, so we celebrate both the Catholic and the traditional side of it. And the other tribe that we know that went back to its original one is actually San Juan Pueblo. They were given that name when the Spaniards came here. They gave them the name San Juan. Their patron saint was St. John the Baptist. However, through their own efforts, through their Pueblo council and their people, they went up to their proper channels to go ahead and change that name back to their original traditional name, which in our Tewa language, they speak Tewa as well. Their name is called Okeowinge in Tewa. Okeowinge translates to place of the strong people. So they actually went through the formality, the whole thing of going through Congress, have Congress passing a legislation and everything, everybody agreeing to that. And then it went through the president signing off saying, okay, you are going to be known as Okeowinge. And it's officially signed off by the president.
Next up, it was time for lunch. So Elmer, along with his wife Deborah and friend Madeline, welcomed me for a feast day lunch at his grandmother's house.
So a little bit about what we'll be eating is, this is a small portion of what we would make for feast day. So there's probably, we were just talking about this, maybe about a half dozen times a year that we have traditional ceremonies, dances. And our main feast day is January 23rd, and this is just a sampling of what we would feed. We always talk about the three sisters. So there's the corn, the squash, the beans, and then there's sexy cousin, green chili comes around, red chili, and pasoli. So they all melt together, and then this dish here is chicken enchiladas, green chili chicken enchiladas.
Delicious.
For dessert, you'll have some watermelon and some bread pudding, and then in here is some fresh bread, some tea, and how we do it is buffet style, so we just start serving and passing dishes around. So feel free to begin wherever you'd like.
Absolutely, thank you so much.
So we're sitting down for a feast day meal, but what exactly is a feast day? Well, a feast day at a pueblo is a living tradition that blends centuries of native culture with influences from Spanish colonization. Each pueblo in New Mexico has a patron saint, a legacy of the Catholic missionaries who settled in the region in the 1600s. On the saint's designated day, the entire community comes together to celebrate with ceremonies that honor the saint and also the pueblo's older spiritual traditions. The day begins with a Catholic Mass in the Mission Church, followed by traditional dances in the plaza, like corn dances, buffalo dances, or deer dances, performed in colorful regalia to honor the cycles of nature and to offer prayers for rain, health, and harmony. Families open their homes to relatives, neighbors, and visitors, sharing lavish meals that often include Pueblo staples, like exactly what Deborah made. These celebrations are not staged for tourists, but are actually sacred community events where hospitality, spirituality, and cultural pride come together to preserve traditions that have endured for centuries. The food was incredibly delicious, a reminder of how much New Mexican food is shaped by native traditions. I have to note that a lot of this reminded me of the food that I used to eat growing up, but the bread pudding was savage. A disastrous combo of bread, heaps of butter, sugar, cinnamon, raisins, and for some reason, melted cheese. It was dangerously good. After lunch, Madeline, a third-generation potter from the nearby Santa Clara Pueblo, introduced me how they do their highly impressive black-on-black pottery. It's important to note today that this is a very long traditional practice, but it's also probably what the San Ildefonso Pueblo is most known for. In the early 1900s, a woman by the name of Maria Martinez became one of the most famous potters from the Pueblo tradition. Alongside her husband Julian, Maria revived the ancient black-on-black pottery tradition, creating elegant, polished vessels with matte designs that won international acclaim, which turned San Ildefonso into a global symbol of Pueblo resistance, creativity, and cultural survival, as well as being a hotspot for beautiful pottery. It's a remarkable blend of ancient techniques and cultural storytelling. Potters gather clay from the land, mix it with volcanic ash for strength,
Then hand coil or thumb press it into the shape of a bowl or a jar. The surface is polished with smooth stones until it shines like glass. Using a thin clay strip, they paint designs that fire into a soft matte finish. Then she explained that the striking black-on-black effect is sealed by smothering the pot with ash in an outdoor kiln, sealed with manure. They can control how much black the final pot has by how sealed the final kiln is. The spiral of life symbolizes the never-ending cycle of existence. Parrot feathers honor beauty and color brought by sacred birds once traded into the region. And the famous water serpent represents rain, fertility, and the life-giving power of rivers.
There's so much more than, the clay. She has a spirit, just like, you hear stories about Mother Earth and how people always refer to that. Well, that's true. Mother Earth does have a spirit. Just like anything that you encounter, it has a spirit within it and it has feelings. So, when I'm working with Mother Clay, I'm always thankful that she's allowed me to be able to learn the art of making pottery and to be able to make a living from it, and then to be able to teach and pass it on. So, she's special to me, and I wouldn't ever waste her or be disrespectful to her.
And it seemed like everyone here is on the same wavelengths, as Madeline's answer that we just heard was very similar to something that Elmer echoed when I asked him what has changed in his lifetime since he was a kid.
More people coming in the area, walking in areas, have no sense or knowledge of, okay, this is tribal reservation, we shouldn't be on there. But again, it's more I do is try to educate a lot of people that come in the area that you have to have knowledge of where you're at. 2 fires that they had up here, and it burned all the way up. It touched our reservation, and it burned 200 acres. But even at that, when everybody got together, and when they started fighting fire, they all just wanted to do is get in there, bulldoze everything that they could find, put fire lines. They said they looked at a map, let's do one this across here, let's do this. I said, whoa, wait a minute, back up. It says, don't forget there's traditional culture sites in this whole area. So if you do run a bulldozer, start running the line, you're gonna come across something.
Right.
So you gotta be very, very extra careful.
As I hit the road back to Albuquerque, I can only remain grateful that these cultures endured through the years, and that they're still preserving the traditions of their ancestors and caretaking their way of life today. As an American today, I sometimes struggle to find a place for myself in our sprawling cities. So it's always a good reminder to encounter Americans who are wholly grounded in the land that they come from. It's unique and special, and you should visit.